Well, Rahul, thank you very much for joining me. It's really a pleasure to have you on this podcast. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. You're in a massive market in India. I mean, it's one of the world's big MLM markets, and I'm certainly excited to hear your perspectives on it. So, welcome to this podcast.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for having me at your podcast. Looking forward to a great discussion and a mutual beneficial discussion based how we can develop and communicate better on this great industry and how we can take this discussion forward. So, where do we start from,
Awesome.
Richard?
I would like to just kick off by getting your story. How did you get into this industry? What road did you take to get to where you are now? If you can break that down for me.
Great. Richard, I mean, when I passed out of my college, I had a job in one of the multinational companies, and I'm an engineering management graduate. And during one course of a day, one of my friends introduced me to this wonderful opportunity. Now, back those days in 1999, 98, there was not much clarity about what this industry is all about. And your first question was whether this industry is going to be legal or not. But you look at this opportunity, you realize this is a one good way of achieving your dreams. And when you start thinking it over, you find that this is the only way you could achieve your dreams. Gradually, I left my job, became a full-time direct seller, and for 3, 4, 5, about 4.5 years, I was a complete direct seller. Now, in the journey of 4.5 years, I can divide it into two parts. First part, where I know how to recruit people, but didn't know how to manage them. And in the second part of my journey, I knew how to manage team, but didn't know what to do with the money that I was earning. So I was spending too much and earning too much. And I was just
What a
young and
nice
naive
problem
at
to have.
true. I mean, I was young and naive at the time, and I mean, those back days, when you were 21, 22 years old, I didn't know what to do with such kind of money. And eventually, when I realized I was earning money, but I was actually losing out because the kind of compensation plan that we were working out were typically recruitment-based compensation plans. On those days, about 20 years back, there was not much difference between how you understand a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme, or a product-based schemes. You could only understand what direct selling is or what multi-level marketing is. And but over a period of time, you realize the effort in building the teams in only a recruitment-based structure is too heavy. It's too much of a big of a cost. And eventually, I fizzled out. I moved out of direct selling, and for 3, 4 months, I had nothing to do because even though I've earned money, but I had spent too much of building those teams. So because I was not learning how to build correct teams. And after that, I went into the corporate and luckily I got a job with Amway. So Amway India, I joined them as a state trainer and started doing training for product training and sales training for Amway. And it was more of a corporate role that I was doing. And I like training. I hooked to the training like anything. And but then I realized when I was working with Amway that I was delivering content, but I was not developing content. And I used to always wonder how you develop such deep content that are required for training and L&D programs. So after Amway, I joined a training company to learn those things. So I selected one of the North India's best training company. I walked into that interview and said I want to work with this lady, and she was a wonderful, charismatic owner of this training company. She taught me how the trainings are made, how the research are done, how the training need analysis are done. And that experience helped me to, become a kind of a 360-degree trainer that I was looking at. Now, after that, I was looking for another direct selling opportunity when one of the Indian companies, one of the great Indian brands in Ayurvedic product line, wanted to launch a direct selling, and I became the deputy general manager for them. So launch a complete direct selling for them in India. So from the journey from direct seller to a trainer to developing the L&D and now becoming a deputy general manager. So Gate gave me a chance to, work with a corporate and launch a complete direct selling vertical for them. That journey was really fruitful and rewarding. Learned how to do a pan-India business and how the direct selling works. Had a chance to work with one of the best top lawyers in the country on the policies and framework. whichever they were. I mean, technically they were nothing, but we used to follow something. So law of the land. So whatever they was, but these lawyers were, I mean, they were a terrific set of people. And after that, I launched a direct. I worked with a company where we launched a direct selling magazine called as Networking Today. So 2008-9 was the first time that a direct selling magazine was launched in India, and this was done to technically to improve the perception of the industry. However, that benefit of working for the magazine and launching this media and publication thing gave me a foothold across the country. So it made me sit across a lot of CEOs and MDs and young entrepreneurs who wanted to start direct selling or who were leading good companies. And I could actually sense what their fears are, what their insecurities are, and where do they actually lag while they're running a company. And by accident or by unfortunate, by I would say a stroke of luck, I got a consulting assignment for a product licensing. And this was for a direct selling MLM company. They had some issues with their product licensing and packaging. So I solved that problem. Then I got a compensation plan issue where the payouts were moving more. We had to analyze why payouts are being happening. Then looking at the company's productivity issue. And gradually from 2011, we set up our own direct selling consulting firm with the name Piplbyte. And it's been an 11-year journey with the
Sorry, what's it
people.
called? I didn't hear.
Piplbyte. It's Piplbyte.
Okay, 100%.
Then something good about the industry happened in year 2016 when Government of India, through Consumer Affairs Ministry, launched a direct selling guidelines. So this was first framework or an advisory that was given to the direct selling industry that how you need to operate in terms of the compensation plan, in terms of the products, in terms of the direct seller agreements, in terms of your vendor agreements and the trademarks that are required. 2016 was the when government gave this impetus, the industry began to boom. And we also thought, that we also need to do something for improving or contributing towards this industry. So we set up a magazine division which was called as Direct Selling Today. So we understood one thing that, the people in the lawmaking, the policy makers or the lawmakers in this country are still to be, are still to be informed about what this direct selling is all about. And we realized whenever you go to online or whenever you Google direct selling or MLM or is a MLM a good business, is MLM a bad business, eventually you will get 1 lakh hits for MLM a bad business or a Ponzi scheme, but you will not get anything about is MLM a good business. So the only thing is perception is bigger than the truth. And the perception that keeps on building about an industry is that it's a negative industry or it has some bad players in this industry. So we took the onus of one step that we will contribute towards this industry's retribution by bringing this magazine. And everybody advised me not to get into the print side of the magazine. Everybody told me you can go to the YouTube, then you can go to a social media thing, and you can do an online thing because that's more rewarding. But I said my priority is not getting the revenue out of the magazine. Our priority is to get this magazine on the tables of the people who want to make law about us, who will be controlling this industry. They need to read it. And it's been a journey about 5 years. We also did two things, which me and my team were really proud of. One is we celebrate Indian Direct Selling Day. So on 26th October, when this guidelines were notified, so we decided to celebrate that day as Indian Direct Selling Day. So we thought, we have a life where we are direct sellers, then we might be a company owners, we might be a CEO of a company, and we might be a trainer, we might be a manufacturer, we might be a vendor, we might be any service provider, or we might be part of any associations that, interact with the government or the policies. But we don't, at the end, we were all direct sellers. So there should be one day we should all get together and celebrate this day. And I mean, we have Teachers' Day, we have Engineers' Day, we have Doctors' Day, we have it pretty much every day in the 365 days, but we don't have a direct selling day. So that was one
I
thing
think
we
that's a
started.
lovely idea. That's a wonderful idea. Yeah.
So, I mean, a few of my co-founders, we need to leave something for our next generation to remember that, it was not an easy journey from period where this industry was not recognized to a period where this industry has been recognized. So, and let's make that day remember in everybody's. Let's not make it a company day. Let's not make it a Richard day or a Rahul Sudan day. Let it be a direct selling day. And we also started another thing, which is a direct selling legal conclave. Now, direct selling legal conclave is an event platform that conducts events and education programs between the government, between the policy owners, and between the company owners. So it is an online and an offline kind of a combination where we talk about what is new, what is the law that is happening, what are required in the products, what is the food licensing, what things you need to take care of the import of the product. So this is what we start. So this is
It's
pretty much my journey.
also amazing. I mean, this is so absolutely needed, not just in India. I mean, this is something that's needed worldwide, and I don't know of anybody else doing anything like this anywhere else in the world.
Oh, I thought everybody would be trying something or the other. Let's do whatever we can do it. And I was blessed with a really good team. I mean, Richard, I'm really proud of my team. I have a team of about 20 people who do only direct selling consulting. And based on this team, we have been able to do, so many things apart from consulting, magazine, print, events, anything to do with direct selling is what we do. We're more than happy to do it. So this has been our journey, and we feel that we've only achieved the 10% of what we plan to do right now. And so my team, we have all geared for, we just started 2023 and we have huge standards for 2025. I'm looking forward to make
Can
Indian
I
direct
ask you a
selling.
couple of
Yes,
So I
please.
think that at this point, there's a couple of things that I would like to ask you. The first of all, if somebody was coming into India and wanted an outside company, let's say an American company wanted to launch in India, they could use your services to consult to make sure that they don't fall foul of any laws, that they do everything according to the book. That's what you would do for them. Is that correct?
Yes. So what we do, so technically in India, you have companies which come from US, Europe, and Malaysia. These are the three places normally they have a gateway to India philosophy. US companies tend to do a pre-work about their concept analysis, about the compensation plan, about the product licensing before they actually commit to come to India. Whereas the Malaysian companies, they tend to actually start the business and then kind of do the pre-work. So in case somebody is looking at do a feasibility report before you come to India and how you want to come to India and what are the legal laws per state. Because typically, as US and India, we both have a federal structure in terms of the government, and we both are democracy-based government. So in India, also the states have a huge power and roles in terms of direct selling rules, which is, if you go to Switzerland or if you go to any of the European countries, this doesn't exist. But the way it exists in US, the similar structure exists in India. So we advise our
Yeah.
clients to which state you need to start from, what are laws you need to take care of, and what pitfalls you need to avoid, and then probably they can start with the business. That's we are there to help them.
Now, what I'd like to do before we go any further, I would like to get your contact details out there because some people don't listen to the end of the podcast and then they don't get the contact details. So, how can somebody get hold of you?
We have the available website, which is www.piplbyte.in. Piplbyte is PIPLBYTE. It's people and a byte .in. And you can get us, it's across, and we are available on all the social media channels. You can connect us through any of the medium. We're also available on the our magazine site, which is the Direct Selling Today, which is the domain name and the trademark in which we operate and run our magazine. So you can get in touch through the magazine also through us.
Is that directsellingtoday.in as well?
Yes.
Fantastic. And I suppose companies could advertise in your magazine. Companies can reach a client, an audience through your magazine. Is that possible, or how does that work?
Yes, they can reach. Only thing is that they need to do a certain necessary step, which is the compliance with the Indian government. So we
100%.
don't pick up any client which has not done compliance in India with the Indian government. So all those clients that come up with a thing that we're going to pre-launch or we're going to pre-advertise about something and we need to look at market, so we don't pick up those clients. And anyone and anyone is welcome. Also, we look at clients which can talk about the industry as whole, not specific, a very,
So,
very.
a company like MLM for CEOs, our organization, which is specifically doing what you and I are doing, we could advertise there or not?
Yes, more than welcome, Richard.
Ah, you see, there's a magic number. More than welcome, my favorite words. Okay, so in terms of compliance, I know, for example, if I'm in America and I am non-compliant, let's say I make an income claim, which is illegal in America. For every income claim on my website, if they come and investigate me, they fine me 50,000 US dollars for every violation. So if I make 3 income claims, I'm $150,000 in fines down straight away. Is the same sort of thing in play in India? Is that a similar kind of thing? Do they come after you if you're non-compliant?
Uh, Not exactly like this. So I'll give you a brief idea what is happening in India right now in terms of direct selling laws. So in India, there is a Consumer Protection Act. Uh, Now this Consumer Protection Act is a wholesome act which covers everything which is related to consumer. In this act, in the year 2019, when it was passed by the parliament, they included three forms of businesses. One was direct selling, the other is e-commerce, and third was the telemarketing. Now, in year post that, in year 2021, there's certain set of workable rules which came up from the government of India, which defined how you need to do a direct selling business. But they also said that the monitoring of this business will be decided by a particular state. So let's assume that if you're working in India and you're operating out of state of Maharashtra or state of Delhi, then these particular state governments have the power to define how they will monitor your business. Now, based on their local understanding, they could decide certain steps. So probably, I mean, 5, 6 areas of minimum discussion that are happening is probably you can decide the percentage of maximum payout in a compensation. You can define that 40% of the total turnover or 45% of the total turnover is what an organization can give. Second, would there be a registration charge for a direct selling company to register themselves with the state government? Third, income claims. Now, do we make income claims mandatory for declaration, or let's leave it for the direct selling company to do it on their own? So another question could be the product certification and the quality certification that comes with the product and the markups that happen with the product pricing. Now, all these questions are being deliberated at state level, and all state governments have kind of made a committee where they have some people from law, some people from their legal structure, some from the consumer affairs, and some subject matter expertise. Now, they're picking up subject matter expertise from a couple of associations. Now, this group of 5 or 6 people are helping the government to develop a monitoring committee. So it means that the question that you asked, that government can go to a direct selling company in US and they find out that their income claims are inconsistent with what they have been submitting to the government. This scenario, I believe, will take about another about 1.5, 2 years to get implemented in India. And I think not all states in India would start with this thing. Some states which are very progressive with direct selling, the state of Karnataka, state of Andhra Pradesh, uh, maybe they would start off with this thing, and then probably the precedents would happen. So monitoring has started, the policies are being in the framework, but not set to a level of such finesse. I would say still will take about 1.5, 2 years.
And are the authorities aggressive in terms of our industry? So in America, it seems to me that the authorities are looking for reasons to shut MLM companies down. They are aggressive about trying to find any small issue that the company's doing for an excuse to shut them down. That almost there's a, a, an intense dislike for the industry from the authorities. What is it like in India? Is the government receptive to this? Are they positive about it? Are they seeing the benefits of it, or are they also quite malicious about how they approach the industry?
Um, okay, let me put it in this way. It's like, so if I meet you, I become positive about the software business. And if I meet Richard, then I become positive about how the MLM for CEO is run. So it, so what is happening is the kind of interaction that is happening government with a certain set of people, and they're building the perception on this same set of information that they receive from certain set of people. Now, if I meet a person who is good about the industry, then the perception is good. And if I get a news which is bad about the industry, then I become and have a mindset about this. So I will not be able to, comment that the entire Indian direct selling government authorities or the people that are there have what kind of mindset they have. It's pretty much divided as of now. Some people think that it is one of the best way of self-employment, and some officers think that this is the one good way of make in India, which is our prime minister's vision of increasing the manufacturing in our country. Then everybody thinks that women empowerment is also gets consolidated through this industry. But then there are people who thinks that these are only dream sellers. They will sell probably a $1 product for $50 thing, or they will only say you invest so much in this thing, and you you take those undue claims over the investments. So authorities are kind of mixed, and they're kind of divided in terms of what exactly this industry is. I would rather put it in this way, that they are trying to analyze whether this industry, which way this industry will go. Um, so I would say we're still in a state of flux. So, and this clarity will eventually come when all the state governments will be able to have their own monitoring policy. Luckily for us, the government is not behind us that, you need to shut down everything, probably the way it happened in Bangladesh. I mean, that's the closest neighboring state, which had a very, very successful direct selling happening. Maybe like the country of Nepal, where everything got shut down. So government in India is not
Yeah.
against it, but yes, they are very, very cautiously approaching this forward, looking at all the data and all the information. So I would advise anyone who's coming to India, they have to come with a pinch of salt, that everybody will have to do 110% to improve the perception. Products have to talk, the compensation have to talk, the leaders have to talk, and everybody has to talk the same way to help government support us. I would rather put it in this. Okay.
Yeah, and because my perception of the MLM market, as you know, I've been in it for about 35 years. My perception of the MLM market is you've got a company with a big infrastructure, and you get an individual who can now leverage that infrastructure to set up a small business that can market and sell a product range. And so for me, the initial perception of our industry is that I, as an individual, can leverage a massive corporation's infrastructure to run my small direct selling business. And then, if I want to, I can create a small sales team, and between us, we can increase the volume of sales that we make and basically generate an income without a massive overhead, because the company carries all of that. And so, for me, the messaging that we should be getting to the authorities is very much about the fact that, look, here you have a country who set up an infrastructure to allow people who are unemployed or are low earning to get into a business for themselves, but not by themselves, where there's a big company behind them that's going to train them, look after them, provide them with infrastructure, provide them with IT systems, provide them with stock management, stock deliveries, fulfillment, their financials, etc. So for me, that kind of is where our business is sort of, it stands and falls on that. Unfortunately, you do get a lot of people who are just building these pyramids. If you recruit 5 people, who recruit 5 people, who recruit 5 people, then you're going to make a fortune. But the reality of our business isn't about recruiting 5 or recruit 5. The reality of our business is about buying the product at a discount and selling at a profit. That's the reality of our business. And that's where our business should be really focused. The industry as a whole, I believe, should be focused on that concept. I buy my product at a discount, I sell it at a profit. If I sell a lot of profit, I make more commissions. So for me, I don't know if that makes sense to you. That's kind of where I see it.
Definitely, Richard, it makes sense. I mean, we interpret this situation as, empowering small people with small businesses. So home-based businesses, I mean, you can start off with little or no less investment, and you can get into direct selling as well, and you can support. In fact, in India, if you look at, then you have two major things which you need to look at. One, logistically, India is a massive terrain. I mean, so even to transport a simple product or courier a simple anything in India is still a it's still a puzzle. I mean, you can't have an online thing where you just place an order and it will get delivered to every nook and corner of India. So logistically wise, you have certain people who will buy a product or somewhere, get you to a location or a place and help people solve their delivery problems also. Then you're looking at people who are ready to take education, improve their personal skill and their body language and their non-verbal communication by investing on themselves. So as a nation, you're not investing on them. You just created a structure and people are just learning out of it. Uh, yes, there has to be balance between recruitment and sales. You need to define what recruitment is. Are you looking, and we need to have deeper understanding of this, what you call it, a Ponzi scheme, and there is a product-based Ponzi scheme. I mean, which is more dangerous actually. We need to make people aware what is right and wrong. We need to make the government aware what is right and wrong. And I'm sure when people know about what's right and wrong, they take the right decision. Challenge is we've not been able to communicate this thing to too many people in India. Uh, with 500 almost different languages that we run in India, one standard communication is also a challenge. So just to sum up what you
Yeah,
said,
I hear you.
it is an empowering business that we need to set up with the help of the government and with the help of the people so that, we can empower people to, make a difference in their livelihood.
So you were just saying that you've got a challenge with getting the product delivered across the country. I mean, we have a similar product problem here in South Africa that the courier to courier a product across the country is very, very expensive. And by the time you finish paying the courier cost, you've wiped out your profits. And so what we've done here is, and we've built this into our software, we have a concept called collection points, where we consolidate the orders and we send them to a, let's call it a mini warehouse, but it's run by one of the network members. And so we send the product in bulk to that network member, and then it's dispersed or distributed from that collection point. Is how are you solving this problem? I mean, the fact that you've got such a vast area and the infrastructure is not there to do a direct door-to-door delivery inexpensively. How are you solving that problem?
Uh, so there are two sets of solution that happens. One, as you said, the collection point. Generally, we refer this as a pickup center, which are small
Okay.
quantum-based delivery centers that happen across the country. Now, these are serviced by a super stockist or a CNF or a company's warehousing system, which are state specific. So you end up having 3-4 levels of distribution in every state uh, to solve this last mile delivery issues that happen in any of the product line. But again, when you even if you set up these kinds of system, it's so you basically either building this cost into the cost of the product or you building this cost to the end direct seller who's going to buy this product and deliver it. So you're right on the statement that eventually their profits get wiped off. But still, it's work in progress. I mean, so there are areas we've been able to solve this thing out. And there are certain areas logistically where the hills, mountains, or deserts, they're still, we're figuring it out how the last mile delivery will happen. But I'm sure with the support of the government and with the ethical direct selling companies coming to India, we'll be able to create an environment where, we'll create an where all these issues can be resolved as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I mean, I speak to people all over the world, and whenever I speak to people, it's interesting to see the challenges that those countries face. Um, and it seems to me every country has its own unique challenges. When I speak to people in Europe, they've got their challenges are that everybody has to have a registered business to become a part of the network, and they have to register for VAT, and they have to have proper tax consultants doing their tax. So can you imagine every one of your networkers has to be invoicing the company for their commissions? So, I mean, wherever you go in the world, there are a set of rules that seem to be almost designed to, I suppose it's designed to protect people, but also designed to make the industry a lot more difficult to achieve. And sometimes it's logistical problems like you're talking about, which are quite hard to deal with.
Interesting thought, Richard. When we start meeting the government officials and you start requesting that you need laws about direct selling industry, first thing that comes from every regulator's mouth is, why do you want a law? Because every other industry that you parallel all industries combined, they go to the government that they don't want any law. Keep them separate, keep them away from any strict rules and regulations so they can operate freely. Direct selling industry is the probably only one which goes to the government and say you can make us strict whatever you want. Gives us the strictest regulation. We are ready to comply with it, but allow us to work. And you on this, I think it gradually boils down to the same thing, that improving the perception about the industry. Uh, Similar that you said about the VAT thing. In India, it is a GST, which is the goods and the sales tax that happens. In India, there is a minimum slab. If you cross the slab, then this happens. So whether it's about 2 million INR, I would say for firm state, or 1 billion INR, if you cross that level, then you are liable to get those things. I think more or less the similar, but yes, if everyone has to buy a VAT and a GST to process their invoicing and everything, I think it will. It will discourage everyone to get into direct selling. Actually, eventually, it will be a very very slow moving business. So
Yeah, it's funny. I had this conversation with somebody in Europe, and I said to them, "Wow, that must absolutely cause people to run away from multi-level marketing completely." And he said, "No, in actual fact, completely the opposite." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "When people have to register a business and have to register for GST or VAT, they actually view the business in a much more serious light. It's not now just somebody saying, hey, join my business and go out and find 5 people and you do nothing and you make a fortune. Now suddenly it is viewed in a much more serious light." And he was just saying to me that in the event that you have to go through all of these fiduciary issues to get your network marketing business up and running, you view it much more seriously. So he said that the people who join, maybe they don't join as quickly, but the ones who join actually take it much more seriously. And in Germany, for example, the average sales per active distributor is, what was it? Give me a moment. It was, it's about 400 euros a month is the average sales for, I stand to be corrected there, but somewhere around 400 euros a month is the average sales per distributor. And it's way higher than, for example, in America or in almost any other country. The average sales is much higher. And he attributes that to the fact that people are having to take it a lot more seriously to get involved. So just an interesting take on that, because my reaction was the same as yours. Goodness, who's going to do that? And his reaction was, hey, well, it's making people a lot more serious. So interesting.
interesting, Richard. This is inspirational. in Indian, if you convert this 400 euros, you're looking at about 40,000 rupees INR, which would not even be an annual figure. So
It would
this
not
is
even be a.
annual. I mean, 12-month figure. I mean, in India,
Well, let me actually get the exact number for you, because what's happening here is I'm trying to do it in my head, which is always a bad thing in my case, because at my age, anything is possible. Um, so it's about 300. Sorry, it's about 300 euros per
okay.
month per active agent. Sorry, I was a bit high there. That's not bad, hey?
That's not bad. That's amazing. I mean, that's an awesome number, Richard. I think.
Well, if you have a look at the somewhere on our YouTube channel, if you ever get a chance, we've got a state I've got a video on the state of the MLM industry globally. And I've got all of the numbers globally of who's selling what and which countries are doing what and what the average sales are per country. I did it a couple of years ago, so it's a little bit outdated now. But you'll see that places like Germany, I think they've got like 12 or 13% of the global sales happening in Germany, but they don't have 12% of the number of agents. So they've got this massive volume, but not huge numbers of agents. And I think it's because of probably some of the rules that they've got pertaining to how you become an agent, what your expectations are, the fact that you've got to sell product. You can't just recruit people. If you can't make a living just selling the product, then it's a Ponzi scheme, et cetera, et cetera. So they've got a lot of very onerous rules, but funnily enough, their average per capita volume is just through the roof and higher than anywhere in the world. Actually, Germany has got one of the highest average sales volumes in the world in the MLM space, and they are massive into MLM. Germany is just is so exciting when I see what's happening in that area.
I would love to meet them and learn from them actually how they're doing it. I mean, 12% of the global business, and you're right. I mean, active base would be what, 2, 3, 4%. I mean, you're looking
Yeah.
at more than South Korea. You're looking at almost. I mean, if you look at Indian market, then you're looking at almost. To give you an idea, I think in India would be roughly about 4 euros actually.
So that's about a tenth. And we have the same problem in South Africa. So we also have, it's 500 rands. What's that? Divide that by 50, 500 rands, 50. Our average is between 20 and 30 euros in turnover. 20, 25, $30 US would be our average per active member sales in South Africa. But it's a little bit like the Wild West here, because people are not, there's a lot of people doing very strange things. And, I think that somebody needs to get together with the authorities and stiffen up the rules here, and also stiffen up the punishment for people who are breaking the rules. Because it's having a negative effect overall on the turnover, on how much sales get made, on who gets involved in the business, and the promises that get made. I'm sure you've heard it. All you have to do, first of all, that sentence, all you have to do is sign up 5 people, they sign up 5 people, you sit back and watch the money grow. It's that kind of narrative that you would not hear in Germany at all. When they talk about it, they're talking about you starting a serious business. They talk about the fact that you've got to be registered. They talk about the fact that you've got to have some sort of bookkeeping and accounting that's going down, that you have to invoice the company every month for your share of the profit. And so it's a much more serious approach to this, but I think very beneficial in terms of, well, you can see the result, what they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And that certainly is what's happening in Germany.
We do.
I've got
We did a yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, please. Okay, I
Sorry.
was just saying that we did prepare a report about how to take things forward in the in terms of the monitoring of the direct selling business in India, and we generally divide them into 2 parts. So one obviously is that segment where they are coming into the business. So we don't want them to be have too much paperwork or too much uh, things to sign off, and they can just start off by buying products and try this business out. And once they are into that serious thing, then they're moving into the direct selling thing, where they're moving into the contractual relationship where their KYCs are being checked and scanned, and you have your residence and banking proof and everything which happens in a normal KYC. Then you should have a little
Yeah, I
bit.
think in Germany,
Yeah, please go
sorry,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, please go
No, I
ahead.
was just saying
What
in
do you?
Germany, you've got 3 months. So you've got 3 months that to try the business out. You don't have to register anything for 3 months. At the end of the 3 month period, you have to make a decision. And then you have to go through all of the documentation, paperwork, registration processes. It's interesting. And I think it's EU specific. I've got a person called Mark who we interviewed a little while ago. I would actually, he's in Europe. He does compliance in Europe. I'd actually like to connect you with him. So we'll certainly, once we've finished here, I'll send you his details and I'll send him your details and connect you, because that could be a very, very interesting connection in Europe for you guys.
And Richard, just to add on, what is the average product size were we referring to? Are these like general pricing, or there? I know there are certain companies in Germany where the product size is expensive. The kitchen utensil product line are you know, uh, like premium product line.
That is, yeah, they've got a couple of products like Forvac, which are very, very expensive,
Yeah.
high-end products, single sale products. So I don't really know that off the top of my head. I would have to look at our stats again. So I don't have that information off the top of my head. But there's you've got Amway's operating there, Herbalife's operating there, all of the main players, Tupperware's operating there. So those are all products that are operating in that space. I'm not sure what the average product price is. That's an interesting question. I think we should actually look into that and see what that is. Because I know in South Africa, for example, our average product price is much lower. It's about 50% of what the average product prices are in the US, for example. But that's a good question, Rahul. I think that's something that we should actually look into and get some statistics on that.
Richard, there's another thing I wanted to know. When most of the direct selling companies in India, they approach us. So we have a separate division which takes care of the strategy part, with the growth strategic that happens with Indian companies. No, there's one thing that has been very, very visible about Indian companies is that the top 10 companies are not growing at that speed, but the industry size at the pyramid and this company funnel size, the bottom, the companies are moving up. So there are a lot of small companies, the startup companies are coming up, but the turnovers of the top companies are not increasing. Their top line profits are not increasing. Is it like a something which is there globally? Which is happening? Uh, to give you a
Well,
perspective,
all
yeah.
companies, Rahul, go through an S curve. So you have your first initial period, which is fairly flat while you're getting your key players into place. At some point, you hit what we call critical mass, and we find that that's about 2,000 active agents. And at that point, the business goes vertical. And so that's where you get this explosive growth. I call it the business blushing. So the business will then rocket up for a period of time. And then what happens is you get the top of the S curve, because the enthusiasm for the business is gone. But you find that those top companies are doing a solid turnover. You take a company like Amway is doing what they did, $11 billion last year. So they've reached the top of the S curve because you've got churn. People are coming and people are going. There's and it's a fairly stable industry at that point. Now, what I've found globally is that once the company has established themselves in their market, and let's say they've got, I don't know, let's take a typical client of NetReady's. A typical client for us, we've got 100,000 agents. Okay, so let's say we've got a network, we've got 100,000 agents. Let's say we've got a turnover of, let's say, I don't know, $12 million a year. It does, not massive, $12 million a year. And we've hit the top of that S curve. We find that where the guys grow is they say, okay, we're going to open up our business and they pick a country. And then they speak to their network in South Africa, for example, and they say, right, who do you know in Botswana? And what you happen then is you get a second S curve happening. And that's how the companies are growing their top line earnings and their profitability, is by they accept that they're at the top of the S curve. And now to grow their business, they push into new countries. Now, we've seen a lot of companies make the mistake of pushing into 10 countries at once. And now you spread so thin, you can't grow anything. It's horrible. So we say to our clients, listen, grow in your country. You are going to get to that top end curve, the top of the S curve. Your business is going to flatten out. You're not going to get the growth you were getting and that these small guys that are coming up are getting. But you've got the solid, you've got the capital, you've got the cash flow, you've got the dependable incomes. And for you to then launch into another country, A, you're going to get a new S curve, but B, you're going to breathe new life into your whole network. And we find that that's where the growth happens. And the companies who are very effective at that are the ones that are getting long-term growth and are becoming super stable internationally. So yeah, that's kind of what I've witnessed. I don't know. What is your take on it?
I think Indian companies have not been able to grow so much that they've been able to explore globally. Uh, Only about two companies in India which have tried moving out internationally, maybe one or two countries or three, four countries. But I see the reason why Indian companies have not been able to move internationally is one, I would say, is the product line. I mean, when you move to a certain country, European or a US product line will always get accepted in Asian market. Obviously, the price factor would remain would be remaining a question, but quality wise, we will accept them. So one, I do feel that the Indian product line has not been able to upgrade themselves to grow globally. So you look at the easier markets, which are the Bangladesh, Nepal, or similar Southeast Asian countries, Philippines and Vietnam. Second, I would think that with unstable regulatory affair environment for last 7, 8 years, I mean, so most of the companies were not pressing on the pedal to push and grow. Because I think if you're doing just about how do I put it, 2,000 crores in USD, it's not much amount. You're not even utilizing India as one state. I mean, you're looking at one population, 135 crore population. Uh, so the question which are coming from is one with two aspects. Yes, the Indian companies turnover they are operating in India, that is not growing. That is one. Second, we're also not finding out. We're also not getting very very top quality CEOs to manage the business. So Indian companies have not been able to hire globally a good CEOs to run separate business in separate countries. I think this probably when I start meeting your other friends internationally and start learning from them, probably we could have a better solution. And third, obviously, the technology part. I mean, it's one thing to say to run a technology in India, then you work out multiple locations, multiple currencies, and multiple payouts, then royalty payments happening. So this, I feel, is still challenge in Indian economy. So best is that is happening with us is that only with the law is becoming in favor of direct selling, perceptions are improving, and Indian companies are becoming stable but not growing. I will put it in this way. So S-curve probably yes, that is the place where most of the companies have hit in India.
Yeah, and I think that happens globally. I mean, if you have a look, I talk to companies in America and they have the same problem. They say, look, because of the fact that MLM has been around for 100 years in America, everybody knows about it. Everybody's already made up their mind about it. It's very difficult to get new people into the business. They are also talking about the fact that they've hit the top of their S curves. We have companies in South Africa who run on our software that have also topped out at the top of their S curves. So I think that is not unique to India at all. And I think also, I mean, I might be wrong here, but I think that what you're saying is also that the CEOs, the vision of the CEOs is maybe not where it needs to be. Because when you start a business, you've got all of this enthusiasm and all of this excitement and all of this power behind you because of just your drive to be in the industry. When you get to that point that you're managing the business, your entire focus is on just keeping things afloat, and you actually lose that passion for building the business. And I think that that's another area where these big companies, they stagnate because they become stale. I said to a lady yesterday, I interviewed her, I said to her, my opinion is that the CEOs of the company it should be mandatory for them to go into the field completely anonymously and go out and try and build a network. Physically go out and try and recruit people, try and sell their own products, go and see what the field is experiencing. Because very often this top-down approach is that they must do what we say, and in actual fact, the CEOs are not 100% on top of what's going on in the field at all. And I think that that also would change the perception of the guys running the companies to realize what does the field need? How can we help them? How can we help them grow the business? How can we help them recruit more people and train more people, etc.?
I think you have aptly described the pain area of a lot of organizations actually. One of the sessions that I was doing with one of the management of the direct selling company, and the suggestion that was coming in was, we should have a better communication strategy with the direct sellers now. And how to have a better direct selling strategy was to based on having a bigger call center, a CRM center, and you could have a better email structure, and you know, and there comes a lady, the boy. There's a direct seller who was a there was a female direct seller, young girl came up. She was about 21 years of age, and we just asked her, "What mode of communication do you like the best?" She's and she just said, "Where I don't have to talk." So, and then we
Interesting.
looked onto that research that what these younger generations, 16 to 21, they don't even want to talk for unnecessary things. So, and so then we kind of advise the company to let's get into completely chatbot kind of a scenario where we just help people. They don't even have to talk and get the work done. Because in India, there's a bigger scenario that we need to talk to make somebody explain our problem. And so the second thing, that came out of that meeting was that, we all do this leader development programs. We do this all leadership training program, but there is nothing called a CEO development program for direct selling.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
And, so
Isn't
we
that
thought,
the truth?
big time. I mean, and then it came out from one of the directors of that particular organization. He said, let's have a director development program for 12 months where we all management actually become the same old guy that we were 10 years or 15 years ago. And I think I'll put forward your suggestion that you should go to the field as an anonymous person and just see what your problem your field is facing. I think this is a good suggestion to
And I
take.
think that if you do that, Rahul, you will develop empathy for your field. You will develop respect for those people who are succeeding in the space. You will develop understanding for what it is that they're actually going through. And if you're a CEO worth your salt, you'll be able to put in place structures and processes that will help your field to actually achieve amazing things. So I think, yeah, I think that actually would be a phenomenal. I would love to see that in action. I'll be honest with you. I think the CEOs, they have this top-down attitude about their businesses. I think it would absolutely open their eyes. And most of them, I don't know in India whether this is the case, but in almost every country that I've been working in, the CEOs come from a business background. So they've got a degree, or they've got an MBA, or they've got something, they've got a BCom, they've got some sort of business degree. And then they've worked in traditional business, and then they've taken on a job as a CEO of an MLM company, and they have zero clue, zero idea of what it's like to be in the field. And I think that actually has an enormously negative impact. Then they have a look at the numbers and they want to reduce the commissions, and we're paying these people too much money. They're clueless. And then they wonder why their businesses are not thriving.
I couldn't fully agree with you. This is something we keep on, facing every month. So we keep on getting these so-called grads from various institutes, and so they come with too much of numbers, too much of mathematical numbers and data analysis and crunching that happens. And to the extent they will remove the emotions out of the entire concept. And first thing I tell them is that this is a people's business. It is run by people. It is managed by people only. So data is good for understanding what you need to do. But at the end, when you talk from your heart, or people will actually figure it out that you're talking numbers, but you're not talking from your. And this,
100%.
and then they keep on giving these strange ideas. And from a direct selling, let's start a complete e-commerce. Then you move to a co-commerce company. Then have a multi-brand co-commerce thing. Or we should call ourselves as D2C company. And so to the question I asked them is, if you're so uncomfortable being calling yourself for MLM or a direct selling, then why to do it at the first place? I mean, if you want to say
Exactly.
yourself as an e-commerce, you say yourself e-commerce. If you want to do an affiliate marketing, do affiliate marketing. But if you're
100%.
doing direct selling, then you're doing direct selling. There is no way about it. You can't get out of it. And you can't tell people that I do this thing, but I will say this thing. You're right on it, Chet. I mean, somebody has to. So probably you will find us a trainer who could conduct this kind of a session for CEOs in awareness or development program, and I will love to bring our clients onto the table for that.
Well, this guy I was telling you about, Mark, I'll get his details to you, because what they've done is they've just launched they're a consulting company in Europe. They've just launched an MLM business themselves. And the reason they did it is they wanted to discover exactly what it's like from the ground up to recruit your first people, train your first people. What is it like to be in the field? So they've been doing some very, very, very interesting stuff in the space. So I will get his details to you. Okay, so I think coming into land here, there's a couple of things that I think stand out for me. Number one, obviously, India has got a massive opportunity. I mean, you've got how many million, 1.2 billion people, did you say?
Yes, and counting and more.
So you've got a market that is almost unfathomably big. It's just huge. So somebody was coming into that market space. I mean, there's a real opportunity there. If you come in with energy and understanding and insight, there's a real opportunity within the Indian space. The second thing is that getting in touch with you guys would be a huge plus. They would be able to shortcut the entire process and not make any of the unnecessary mistakes. I mean, you've got a real passion for the industry. So I think that's the second thing that I take away from here. And the third thing is what I'm very excited about is that your government is being proactive about structuring the multi-level marketing space. And I think that is a huge plus, because otherwise it doesn't get regulated, and then suddenly it gets slammed on and, okay, we're closing this down, it's not working. And the beauty of it, because the government is involved through your efforts and through the initiatives you've put forward, because the government is involved, it becomes a compliant industry where you're not going to just have the carpet ripped out from under you. So I think any companies thinking of moving into India, I think this is a fantastic opportunity and they should seriously consider it.
Thank you, Richard, for a wonderful summary. My takeaway from today's session is to, be in touch with you and learn more things from you in terms of, from a lot of things. I mean, I've already looked into your compensation plan definitions and things, which I think, if made available to us in the local languages, would also make sense in the Indian market. And your global exposure is also something which I feel that this time is not more enough. It was today, it was more about me than uh, it was about us. But I would love to have another discussion with you in terms of a lot of things that I, want to understand in terms of the compensation and the global compensation plan structure, and how do you manage databases across various countries, and how does the economy runs between the various countries. So I would say thank you so much, Richard, for your time that you've given to me, and it's been an absolute honor and privilege to be part of this show. And thank you. I would also like to appreciate your background team that have done amazing work in terms of coordination of this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. They're going to really appreciate that.
No, they've done a commendable job, and it's a great feeling. So looking forward to host
And
you
thank
in
you so
India
much for
whenever.
your time.
It's a pleasure,
I'm so
absolute
there.
pleasure, Richard.
I'm coming to visit you for sure. I've been to India once before. I was up in what's the place called? There's a big hub near Genoa. What's it called?
You were in Delhi or Pune?
No, further up, Pune. Yeah. So I was up that way. Where my development team is. So I was up there, and it was fantastic. I'm definitely coming back. I want to bring my wife next time, and when I do come back, I'd love to come and visit you and spend some time and have may possibly do a meeting like this and an interview in person, which would be a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it, Richard. Welcome to India.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And it was really wonderful having you. For those of you who want to get hold of Rahul, please give us your contact details again, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. Yes, Richard, I'll do so. So anyone who wishes to get in touch with us can get in touch through the website, which is the www.peoplebyte.in. It's PIPLBYTE.in. And my email ID is Rahul. It's RAHUL SUDAN Sudan @peoplebyte.in.
Perfect. And that is really wonderful. And as I said, I'm going to connect you with some people that we know. I think it'll be quite exciting for you to chat with them and see, who knows where one thing starts and another thing ends. Anyway,
Thanks,
thank you
Richard.
so much. And it was good chatting with you.
Thank you so much, Richard. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.